Call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First order of business is the approval of the regular session that we had the notes from the regular session, December 19th, the minutes. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion or questions on those? Nope. Which reminds me, I need to say something about Sandy. By the way, Director Fosdick is not here today and did not send in a proxy. She's had an appointment, so. Go to vote. All in favor? Thank you. The next is the approval of the January 16th work session minutes. Thank you, David.
Second.
Thank you, JB. Anything on those? Nope. All right, all in favor? Thank you. Joint Advisory, Rec.
All right, thank you. We had a lengthy meeting. There were visitors and we covered a lot of ground. So I will try to cover as much as I can, but also be very brief. Current business, Tom, and we also rearranged some of the meeting. So we started off with current business. Tom provided the gun range update with hopes of opening mid-February, subject to several factors. Trey Anson provided the Trailblazer usage statistics from the city. New business, Tom presented a list of non-member events for 2025, and these are on a total list which are included in the meeting minutes. And by the way, anyone who does not get a set of those minutes, if you give me your address or your email, I'll send you a copy of those. It's a little more detail. These were unanimously approved. Joan introduced Roland Neville as the new Associate Director of Recreation. Roland will oversee the rec centers, pools, tennis facilities, parks, and the beach. Jessica is the Senior Manager of Recreation. Trey Anson will oversee the marina, trails, Blowing Springs campground, and will report to Doug McCann. Joan also introduced the new manager of Branchwood, Caitlin Edwards. Staff reports, Tom Judson reported the POA seeks volunteers to run for the POA board. Informational meetings are scheduled for January and February. Rick Eccles reported that the Norwood fill-up is underway, but a passive process is dependent on weather. The Rangers had 1,442 contacts in December. That's up from 1,064 in December 2023. The Brittany fish stocking is ongoing. We're collecting Christmas trees at Lake Ann Park for creating fish habitats. We'll do the survey in the spring on fishing needs. John reported that the Trap and Skeet are open on Sundays and usage is steady from 2023. Joan reported that we have new staff at several facilities in addition to new managers. Over 1,300 after-hour fobs were sold in 2024 for the rec. In response to a question, Joan noted that the $25 fob fee is a one-time cost unless a member loses the fob and needs a new one. Pickleball programming hours have more than doubled, and the schedule info is on the POA website. Tennis courts are locked during inclement weather for safety reasons. Visitor comments, 6 members spoke at this meeting on various issues, most related to pickleball and their desire to see that expanded, the indoor in specifics. And Joan and Jessica both responded to those issues. The amenity reports, which were last in this occasion, all amenities were found to be in good condition with the following comments, and only one of note, and that was the Loch Lomond signs on the dog park fence are badly faded and need to be considered replaceable. Also, the furniture on the dog park is showing its age. Nothing else really was of great concern. And our next meeting is February 10th, 4 o'clock boardroom. Any questions?
Thank you.
All righty, thanks.
The lake summary from Matt. Rick Eccles gave it a very extensive and informative presentation on the history of Bella Vista lakes and fisheries, along with timelines which illustrate. Let me start over. I apologize. Rick Eccles gave a very extensive and informative presentation on the history of Bella Vista lakes and fisheries, along with timelines which illustrated the strategies and tactics implemented throughout the years. The presentation also gave a current situation analysis on what is currently being done to improve the fisheries. 60,000 threadfin shad will be introduced to Loch Lomond in the spring 2025 to help jumpstart the food supply in the lakes, along with removing grass carp, harvesting bass under 13 inches in length, and reestablishing native aquatic vegetation should help improve. You're encouraged to watch that presentation. It's available on our website. Rick did a really good job. Dredging of the shallow coves of Lake Norwood will begin in the next few weeks. Once it is completed, fisheries habitat will be installed at various locations throughout the lake. In addition, the boat ramp will be lengthened to allow better access during low water conditions. Like Brittany experiencing very low water conditions due to the drought. It needs additional rain. And that is the report for the lake summary. And there was no report for golf. They did not have a meeting in January.
Okay, thank you. Next, Beth, financials.
All right, since we've wound up the year, we're just going to kind of go over a full year roundup. Want to take special note that these are preliminary. We're still closing the year. We're still making adjustments, and will be over the next couple of months. There will be some changes, but we've attempted to try to capture the most significant adjustments, so these should hopefully materially be correct. Just wanted you to know that the results will fluctuate. Looking at the consolidated financial performance, $39 million in revenue, which was 5% better than budget, and the EBITDA was $3.8 million, which was 33% better than budget. Looking at the POA only, $27 million in revenue, 3% better than budget, and the EBITDA $455,000 negative, which was 46% better than budget. Water revenue is at $12 million, 7% better than budget. Gross margin, which is revenue less the cost of sales, was $9 million, 11% better than budget. And EBITDA was $4 million, 22% better than budget. Water sales on their own increased 8% from the prior year. Transfer fees increased 9% from last year, the 2023. Water service connections increased 5%, and water capital buy-in fees increased 5% from 2023. Looking at food and beverage, revenue increased 10% compared to prior year. Food sales and alcohol sales are both right in there at 9 and 10%. The revenue for the year is $4,325,000 compared to prior year at $3,945,000. Moving to golf, the total revenue increased by 4% compared to 2023 at $6,290,000. Greens fees increased 7%. And also looking at golf maintenance, along with it, it increased by 8.5%. But that was primarily due to the storm cleanup and the winter kill sod replacement. Looking at golf by course, Scottsdale revenue increased 14%, Metfield increased 11%, Kingsdale increased 3%, Country Club increased by 13% from prior year, and Highlands increased by 12%. And you'll see what each piece of the pie that each course has made. So Country Club and Kingsdale are the winners, but the others are are not far behind. So Eagles are a good thing in golf. So the positive things, cart revenue increased by 3.5% compared to 2023. Members' green fees by 7.5%, and guest green fees increased by 13% compared to 23. So bogey's not what you really want in golf, and the golf shop sales decreased by 13% overall. However, we're going to take a mulligan for that because because taking Tan Yard's out, which was closed, if we took that out of consideration, then sales increased by 4.5% from 2023. Looking at recreation overall, the revenue increased by 10% compared to 2023. Facility use fees up 16%, and the RV campground increased by 9%, with the total revenue of $1,475,000 in 2024. Looking at the gun range, the rifle and pistol facility was closed for remodel. The trap and skeet facility usage, you can see it pretty much was in line with 2023. Some months better, some months not, just under. But the total revenue decreased by 2.5% compared to 2023, and that is combined for the both ranges. And the trap and skeet revenue was up 17%. Looking at the improved lots, this is a chart from the beginning of 18 to the end of 24, and the number of improved lots has increased by almost 2,800 since 2018, which is 20%. And in 2024 alone, improved lots increased by 583 lots. And some key call-outs, membership transfer fees increased by $327,000 from 2023, a 31% increase. During 2024, we invested $7.1 million in capital projects. And employee benefits increased 19%, largely due to increased insurance premiums and the increase in our 401k match benefit. Water meter installation materials increased 26% from 2023, and that's primarily a price increase and also an increase in demand for the materials. The credit card fees increased $99,000 over 23 due to increased sales and increased rates. And that sums it up. I want to thank you guys for a great 2024. Any questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, she is. She's calling us vintage. No.
Thank you, Beth. Open forum time. Nobody in the audience and no emails, correct? Okay. Moving right along. Next on the agenda is the annual vote for corporate officers.
I move that we make Jessica Curry the corporate secretary of the association.
Thank you, Jeff.
Second.
Thank you, Jerry. She's sitting right there, but do we have any discussion? All in favor of Miss Jessica being the corporate secretary again? All in favor? Aye. Sorry. Treasurer?
I'll move to name Beth Nagel the treasurer of the association.
Thank you, Jeff.
Second.
David? Any conversation on Beth?
As long as she keeps bringing numbers up.
Exactly. All in favor? Thank you. Next is the vice president of the association.
I'll make a motion naming Doug McCash as the vice president of the association.
Thank you, Jerry.
Second.
Thank you, JB, AKA Doug. Doug. All in favor? Thank you. This is the toughest one. President of the association.
Nobody wants to.
I'll go again. I move to name Tom Judson the president of the association.
Thanks, Chip.
Second.
Thank you, Jackie. Any conversations about Tom? Well, we got a lot of conversations about Tom. All in favor? Thank you. And by the way, that is, happens via our bylaws every January. We have to go through that process. So, next on the agenda is the replacement for the water department truck.
Want me to go?
Yes, go right ahead.
We had an accident with a company vehicle. Fortunately, employee is okay. This is an important vehicle. We're trying to move forward as quickly as possible. The insurance has not yet determined that the vehicle is a total loss, but we're pretty confident they're going to decide on that. So we estimated the amount of insurance payout based upon Kelley Blue Book. Last time this happened about 6 months ago, that estimate proved to be very good. So we're asking for $35,473.32. We will not move forward with the purchase until insurance has made a final ruling.
I make a motion authorizing the expenditure of $35,473.32 for the purchase of a replacement work truck for the water department.
Thank you, David.
Second.
Thank you, Jerry. Any conversation on this one?
It was deemed this is an important integral part of
Correct.
the work process, so we need to replace it.
Yep.
Yeah, and you feel certain the insurance is gonna come through pretty quickly, because I know you need the vehicle.
Yeah, we're just trying to move as reasonably quickly as possible, and I don't want to be in a situation, because we don't have a ruling yet from the insurance company, so that means I'd have to wait all the way to the end of February to get approval, and we'd rather not. If for some reason the insurance company would come back and say no, you need to repair it, then we'd have to come back to the board and say, okay, we need to cancel this capital project and have it repaired. It's not going to happen that way. It's totaled. Did you guys vote on that?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're in discussion. I'm glad the employee's in good shape. That's the important
Employee's
part.
fine.
That's the good part. Any other discussion? All in favor of the water department work truck? Thank you.
Appreciate that. The next one is updating the trails licensing agreement. The original agreement was approved in November of 2015. We've had a number of additions to it. For example, we started with the back 40, then we added Little Sugar, and then a bunch of different trails here and there. So we have 7 amendments. And these amendments are done before the work is actually started. And in some cases, they had to reroute the trail once they had boots on the ground and they realized that they had to change the routing based upon the terrain. And so the city went through and they did an audit on the location of all the trails, and we found that they looked at the audit, they did an audit where all the locations of the trails were determined, and then they looked at the parcels that the trails were on and then compared that to the original document and the 7 amendments, and they found some gaps. So they said, okay, let's take a step back, let's redo it to make sure everything is covered, because this is in the POA's best interest, because by having the city sign off and be a party to the agreement, that trail is then covered by the recreational use statute. So if there's an injury, we're covered. So this is really beneficial to the POA. Plus it makes it that both entities are bound financially to maintain. I'd hate to be in a situation where a trail is not covered and the city says, well, we're not going to cover this trail because it's not in the agreement. I don't think that would ever happen, but we just want to make sure. Also, since we have 8 different agreements, they have all different end dates, and we're asking to reset that so that all of them will be at 25 years. So we'll start fresh with all of them. All of them will be covered by the new agreement. We may have to make amendments down the road, but at least we're starting with a new document as opposed to
Somebody's excited about it.
As opposed to starting with the 9th or 10th amendment. So that's what we're recommending. I'm sorry, one more thing. And the city is going through this procedure right now. Both parties have to vote on that.
They're voting on it on Monday night.
Correct.
It was at the work session.
Work session, yes.
And it's golden.
Good.
Do you want to do it? I make a motion authorizing the execution of the restated limited terminable license agreement with the city of Bella Vista.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Deborah. Any further discussion on this one?
I don't think Viking's going anywhere, so I don't have a problem with the 25-year extension from here and getting it all cleaned up makes sense. The only thing I would curious about, it's not a big deal, if we do have amendments in the future, would it not make sense to have that set the end date at the same as what these are instead of having them stair-step?
I think that does make sense, absolutely.
Anything else?
And I don't want to give anybody the impression that there is anything on the horizon right now, but it has happened multiple times, but there's nothing planned at this point.
Did you get a second?
Yes, Deborah. Kathleen and then Deborah. All right, all in favor of the reinstated limited timetable for the license agreement on trails? Thank you.
Next item.
I do have a comment related to trails.
Uh-huh.
I don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes, but periodically we get updates on trail status of some of the newer trails we've approved to be forged
Right.
ahead. Is it possible to get that in the near future, some kind of update on those trails?
Sure.
Thank you.
Next item is last May, we had a major repair that needed to be done to the Highlands Kitchen, and we asked for a capital project, and the board approved it on May 23rd. After further review by accounting, they determined that it was probably more appropriate for this to have been a expensed item as opposed to a capital item. So we're trying to decapitalize this expenditure. The financials that Beth presented have it as an expense item, so that this would not cause, we anticipated this vote. But we also wanted to be fully transparent that the project ended up being more than we had originally thought for two reasons. The damage to the piping was much more extensive than we thought. And second of all, the contractor in doing the work hit the power, which really caused additional expenses. And we're having to recoup those expenses from them, and we may have to employ the services of our general counsel to get those expenses reimbursed. Lovely, lovely. So we're asking that this become a expense item, so that our auditors do not call us out.
Beth likes clean audits.
Beth likes clean audits.
I make a motion to convert the Highlands Kitchen Plumbing project from a capital project to expense for 2024.
Second.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion on this one? Jackie?
Do we have a dollar amount of what this encompassed?
Not off the top of my head, and I'd have to get you also how much we're going after the company for. So I can get that information for you.
Any other comments? No? All in favor of moving the capital project to an expense? Jackie?
I guess a follow-up question,
Oh,
if
go
I'm
ahead.
allowed to, is, so potentially this would be more than 10, but we would still, because of the nature of it, move it to expense?
The expense is more than 10, we know that.
But it's not, because of the nature of it, it's more of a repair, restoring it back to,
It's not upgrading or...
Okay, thanks. All right.
Can you call the vote again on that?
Sure. All in favor? Thank you. Jackie. All right, next one is Rules and Reg Committee, policy changes.
So we
Want me to-
discussed this.
Yeah, go ahead.
We discussed these three policies at the Rules and Regulations Committee meeting, and then at the work session. And then there were some additional email discussions back and forth. And so policy 1.01, wanted to ask how you guys wanted to proceed with that one.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and table, we'll have to vote on tabling that one till next month.
Yeah, I agree with the discussion that's going on, and we're having some good conversations, so I do move that we table this discussion until next month's meeting.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks, Jackie. Any discussion outside of, okay. All in favor of tabling 1.1 policy changes to next month? All opposed? Okay, thank you.
And the advantage on all three of these is they're not time sensitive.
Right.
So we have the advantage of time. So since they're not time sensitive, it probably makes sense to table it. And since you guys have already voted on it, I'm totally supportive of tabling it. The next one is on policy 2.07, and we encourage the viewers at home to watch the Rules and Regulations Committee meeting and the work session, because at both of those meetings, these were discussed. There were some additional changes that were made to this since the work session. So those have been incorporated. What we're trying to do is add some reasonableness to the number of political signs that were everywhere this last election. And I actually spoke with one of the candidates, and he